Yo, check this. Forget the flashy chains, forget the platinum plaques, forget the stadium lights. That ain't the real story. The real story, the one that'll hook you deep, is the silent killer, the thing that haunts the greatest rapper alive when the house lights go down and the cheering stops. We're talking about Kendrick Lamar, not the god MC spitting fire, but the man, the son, the brother, the one who looked at everything he'd earned and saw a massive, gaping hole right in the middle of it. This ain't about album sales. This is about a disappointment so deep, so human. It makes all that fame feel like dust. You think being an artist is a dream? Nah, it's a grind, a curse even, because once you step on that stage, you ain't just signing a contract, you're signing away pieces of your life. Pieces you can never buy back, not even with 100 Grammys.
By the way, welcome to Celebrity Hip Hop Showroom, where hip hop and celebrity drama never sleep. So hit that subscribe button so you never miss the mess. Let's get into it.
See, making music, especially when you're the voice of a generation like K. ain't a 9 to 5. You don't clock out at 5 and leave the trauma and the genius locked up in the studio. Nah, it's a 24/7 haunting. The idea for that next verse, that killer beat, it hits you when you're driving, when you're supposed to be sleeping, when you're sitting at a dinner table trying to be present. The creative process is a delicate, selfish beast. It demands everything, and it doesn't care about your kid's school play or your grandma's birthday. You got touring, promo runs, late-night studio sessions chasing a feeling that might never come. It's a never-ending cycle. It's the kind of gig where if you try to stop, the whole world, the whole machine, just keeps spinning without you, and you get left behind. When you're Kendrick Lamar, one of the biggest artists on the globe, that pressure isn't just a weight. It's a gravity field pulling you away from everything else. He's seen the peaks. He stood on top of mountains of expectation and delivered classics. But he knows the lows too, the bone-deep weariness of constantly being on, constantly being seen. In a conversation back in 2016 with the legendary Rick Rubin, a dude who's seen more genius and burnout than anyone, the producer asks him, simple as that, how do you celebrate when something good happens? You'd think a guy who drops masterpieces would have a standard ritual, right? Champagne, maybe a private jet party, something flashy. But Kendrick, he just grins, kind of tired, kind of knowing, and admits his own team gives him grief about that very thing. They ask him all the time. He can't really pin it down. Is the satisfaction the catharsis, that pure, soul-cleansing moment when he finally finishes a piece of art, that last vocal recorded and mixed? Or is it the rush, the opportunity to immediately dive into something completely new, something dark and unformed, and start molding it? The answer, he implies, is neither, or maybe both, but it's never a real break. The celebration is just a transition into the next obsession, the next demanding project. But it's the flip side that truly hits you in the gut, the truth he opens up about the raw, heavy disappointment that comes with this impossible career path. He's got all the glory, the critical acclaim, the money, but what he's missed, what he's sacrificed, those are the moments he can never get back, no matter how many records he sells. The commitment, the sheer, unrelenting nature of being Kendrick Lamar, it forced him to miss integral moments in his family life, the bedrock of who he is. That feeling, the imbalance between the monumental success of his career and the quiet erosion of his personal life, that's the real disappointment, the one that actually keeps him up at night. You can have everything the world can give you, but you can't have time travel. You can't rewind the tape and sit with your little cousin on their 6th birthday. When you're doing this, it comes with a lot of sacrifice. You're going to miss a lot of birthdays, you're going to miss a lot of moments, he admitted, and you could feel the weight of those words, a confession, not a boast. Those are my earlier disappointments. The idea of knowing those times were coming and they came, and there's going to be more of it, and me not learning to find the balance. It always was a stress, you know? It's a simple admission, but it hits like a punch because it's so relatable, stripped of all the rap stardom. It's the universal struggle of any man or woman trying to chase a dream while holding on to the people who matter most. He talks about the people he cares about, the ones he loves, the ones he came up with, and how easy it is to get so lost in the music, so deep in the zone, that you actually forget how much you mean to them. And the kicker? You don't even need them to say it out loud. You can hear it, even if it's not as blunt or as vocal. You can hear the sort of disappointment, he says. That's the real gut check right there. Hearing the disappointment in the silence on the other end of the phone, in the slightly clipped voice, in the "it's okay, we understand," that doesn't actually sound okay. Ruben, the master listener, the quiet giant of production, just takes it all in. He gets it. He's lived it. Being an artist, especially one at that level, it warps your world. It makes you a ghost to the people who birthed you. So he asks the logical follow-up question. Do your people, your family, still support this mad life you lead, despite all the drawbacks, the no-shows, the missed calls? Kendrick nods, a simple affirmation. Yeah, definitely. They're supportive. But he doesn't leave it there, because the truth is never that simple. He knows where the friction is, where the quiet resentment might simmer. But everybody has feelings, he reminds us, bringing it back down to earth, stripping the celebrity veneer completely away. The tough part, the thing he knows, is that in his position, on that pedestal, they might not even feel like they can express those real, hurt feelings. They don't want to be the ones to pile on worry or stress onto the guy who's already carrying the weight of Compton and the world on his shoulders. So they swallow it, they bottle it up, and they wait for the right time, the right balance to bring it up. That waiting, that constant search for the perfect, non-stressful moment, that's the somewhat weary situation he describes. It's an exhausting dance, a never-ending attempt to protect the star while neglecting their own need for the man. That's the real sacrifice, not his, but theirs. And he knows it. He knows he's the reason for their weariness. And that knowledge is the silent disappointment that shadows every standing ovation he receives. The question now becomes, when does the balance truly shift? When does the man finally get to walk away from the monster he created? The answer to that is what keeps him on the road, trapped between the love of his art and the love of his life. The layers to this problem are thicker than any album packaging. It's not just about missing a single event. It's the cumulative effect, the slow, consistent drip of absence that corrodes the foundation of a relationship. Think about it. Every time he's on a jet flying to London for a promo run, he's not sitting on the couch watching a movie with his people. Every hour he spends locked in a studio booth, chasing a bar that'll blow the roof off the internet. He's not at home listening to a problem or sharing a laugh. He's pouring his very essence, his finite time, into the music, into the public. And that means he's pulling it out of the private reservoir reserved for the handful of people who knew him before the fame, before the money, back when he was just K-Dot from the block. The irony is brutal. The very thing that elevated him, the raw honesty and dedication to his craft, is the same thing that pushes his loved ones into the background, making them spectators to his life instead of participants. It's a celebrity trade-off, but for someone as grounded as Kendrick, who speaks constantly about community and loyalty, that trade must feel like a betrayal every single day. Imagine the phone calls. Not the quick, "Hey, I landed safely, I love you" kind, but the ones where he hears the subtle shift in a voice, the small, almost imperceptible hesitation before they tell him a story. They're censoring themselves, not because he told them to, but because they know he's under pressure. They minimize their own day-to-day dramas, the car trouble, the rough day at work, the minor sickness, because the person on the other end of the line is a multi-million-dollar corporation, a global icon, who needs to be focused and stress-free to perform. They shoulder their burdens so his back is lighter for the stage. And he, the man who built his career on telling the absolute truth, is now living a life where the people closest to him are actively hiding their own truth for his benefit. That's a prison of fame, and the bars are made of love and self-sacrifice from his family. He talks about trying to find the balance, and you can tell it's not a search he's winning. How do you balance being the most important voice in music with being an available son? The scales are inherently broken. The music business demands 90%, and sometimes 110%. What's left for life? A weary 10%, maybe less. And that 10% is fractured by jet lag, creative exhaustion, and the need for privacy. He realizes that the journey to become a legend is paved with these missed moments. He must look back at photos or hear stories and feel a sharp, clean regret, not for the career choice, because the music is his destiny, but for the toll it's taken on the only people who truly see him without the spotlight glare. The early disappointments he speaks of, they were lessons he couldn't afford to fail. He learned that fame doesn't just grant you access, it robs you of normal. It takes away your right to a simple, unnoticed life. It replaces intimate moments with public ones. And the pain of that, the real gnawing pain, is that he can't fix it with a hit song or $1 million. He's always been a man seeking redemption, seeking to uplift his city, seeking to tell the truth. But how does he seek redemption from his own family for the years he's spent chasing a microphone instead of a memory with them? This is where the story gets heavy. This is the weight of being the savior, the conscience, the voice. It's a beautiful burden for the world, but it's a crippling one for the man behind the microphone. His biggest disappointment isn't a low album sale or a lost Grammy. It's the quiet erosion of his private life, the constant feeling that he's letting down the handful of people who deserve the best of him. He is constantly torn, perpetually stretched between the global stage and the kitchen table. And until he figures out how to make those two worlds merge, or how to walk away from one entirely, that disappointment, that silent, knowing sadness in the eyes of his loved ones, will be the loudest, most persistent note in his extraordinary, complicated symphony. He's done everything right for the art, but he worries deeply that he's doing everything wrong for the soul. And that's a cliffhanger that plays out in real life, every single day. The biggest question remains, lurking beneath the surface of his success. What happens when the truth of his absence finally becomes too loud for even the music to drown out? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.